And welcome to Beyond the Baller podcast. We are sponsored by Annandale Home Improvements. Thanks to Gary again. And today we have a very special episode where we will be focusing on goalkeeping predominantly. We have none other than Cammy Bell. How you doing, Cammy?
I'm good, yourselves?
Not too bad, mate. Not too bad at all. We are absolutely delighted that you've agreed to come on and take us through what you're up to just now, what your journey looked like, a wee bit of your pro career, and that pathway I think will be important for kids in the position trying to aspire to be similar to yourself, have a career like yourself, and basically that's what we're going to talk through. Anything happening, Dale, just in the world of ballers football coaching just now?
Yeah, obviously we had a good few collaborations on me last few weeks. So we had one with our Kicks from Manchester. They came up on Tuesday and I'm going down there on Saturday to work with some of the best boys in England. That was really well received. And then obviously we've done one with Soccer Lab as well. And then a big shout out to Andy, who travelled over from Ireland, flew over for a day just to watch what we're doing, and that's all because of the podcast. So
yeah, so just to let you know what happened there, actually, everybody, a guy flew from Dublin to watch a day's worth of work that we were undertaking in Glasgow, and it was while our Kicks was up, but he focused on what we were doing.
Wasted journey, probably.
The feedback from him though was completely different.
Yeah, he said it was really impressive. So listen, hopefully it's making waves.
It helps because that was the whole point of the podcast, isn't it? We hope that it helps people. So Cammy, what are you up to in the coaching world at the moment, buddy?
So I've just kind of started my coaching journey. I've got a young boy that's 6-year-old. I've got a daughter as well. She's 12, so she plays as well. But again, I never really went into the coaching journey with her. Just went along and supported her and watched her. But yeah, certainly since my young lad Charlie's got involved, I've went into Annan Athletics, so he's 2019's. Okay. I've taken them from obviously Primary 1, they're now in Primary 2. And yeah, I'm head coach, followed the journey. I'm now chair of community football down at Annan Athletic as well, so I'm completely dive in and I enjoy it. I love it. I absolutely love it. What's
the setup down there, Cammy? Because I know they have got academy teams. What age does that start? Is that under 16s their academy starts?
Yeah, so down at Annan again, we've just got the community football. We're trying to look to get better down there. I think it's an area of the country that gets left behind a little bit, and I think we as coaches down there need to do a lot more as well. What I've seen the big difference down in Dumfries and Galway compared to Glasgow is we don't do the tier system, which I totally disagree with. I would like to see the advanced, the development, intermediate. Sure. I think every kid's got to play at their own level. It's the only way they're going to progress. We've kind of started doing that at our age group. So we've made 2 tiers. So we've just got a Colts team, we call it, and obviously our advanced team. And what we've done with them, we've started to bring them to play teams in Glasgow, because I just feel like when you get to a certain level, you've got to be playing against the same level. Again, our advanced kids, when you mix them up, I see kids not touching the ball in the whole training session. Now we've split them up, I see a completely different outlook to both groups. Kids are developing faster in the Colts group, they're touching the ball much more. Our advanced kids are getting challenged. They're not winning every single game. They're having to deal with that. Again, getting beat, and it's always uncomfortable doing that. So yeah, it's opened my eyes up to a lot of where youth football's at this moment in time.
That's interesting you mentioned about the getting beat part of that, and we speak about the logging of scores and things like that not being allowed, and I understand it from a protection point of view, but I feel that at a certain age that kids should be getting the sort of hard knocks of learning and making them more resilient. I don't know how you feel about that.
Well, listen, we don't speak about scorelines, but kids can count. Kids understand the score, and again, they know whether they've won the game or not. It's the first thing they say, and that's just natural. That was the same when I was a kid. It's got to affect you. You've got to care about the scoreline. It's not all just about scoreline, and as coaches, we implement that to them. That again about where they can do better, where they can make better decisions, but all the positive stuff they've done within that game. But ultimately, kids can count. They know the score when they come off the pitch.
Yeah, definitely.
I think kids need to learn how to lose.
You do?
Yeah,
Because it's easier to win.
that's
I
where I'm
think it's
alluding
really
to.
important to know how to lose.
I think your mindset changes when you're winning all the time as well. You don't apply yourself as much. You don't work as hard. Everything can become slack quite easily within football. So I think you've got to add all these elements in. You've got to be challenged at football. You've got to play at your level. And everyone's got different levels. Everyone's got different journeys. And everyone develops at different paces as well. So that's what I would say. Listen, there's kids that will be in our Colts team that I fully expect to get to the advanced team. Absolutely expect them to. But there's just different development stages within them.
So just while we're focusing on that area, you obviously being a goalkeeper, is your boy a aspiring goalkeeper, or is it no?
No, he's not. He's quite small. Charlie's quite a small lad. So again, rightly or wrongly, I kind of guided him away from the goals. Naturally wanted to put the gloves on and be like his dad, but again, for me, I would like him to play outfield. I don't know if that's just experiences that I've went through as a goalkeeper. But certainly, I think when I look at his height, he probably is going to struggle a little bit.
See, on the goalkeeping, Cammy, right? Do you think that if you have the profile at the age of 8, let's say that you're, because we're addicted to predicted height now in the academy system, right? Do you think you could make a goalkeeper within 12 months to get in the academy system if you've got the correct profile and you're okay with your feet?
Good question. I think academies, and when you look into goalkeeping, they certainly do take into consideration height's probably the first thing. I mean, I speak to loads of parents just now, and their kids are goalkeepers who have been taken into academies, and you hear the stories that they've looked at their mums and dads and they're not big enough, and that's why they've not been invited back. I think it's very harsh at a young age, because you don't know how goalkeepers and how people are going to develop within their physical attributes. Craig Gordon, when he was younger, was very, very small. So again, there's one example that he got told he was too small at one point, and then he goes on to have an amazing career, and obviously grows to the height that he did. I think
he's still growing right enough, isn't he?
He certainly is. His arms are definitely
42, 40, whatever he is.
He's an incredible person and a fantastic goalkeeper. But again, I think we're sometimes too quick to judge at academy level and not just see where the journey takes them. Yes, I think you do need to be a height as a goalkeeper. I think when you become professional and you become an age, you need to have a certain profile, which is always to do your height. If you're a 5'2", you're not going to be a goalkeeper. That's everybody knows that. So, but I think we sometimes are too quick to judge it.
For the judge.
Yeah.
I think goalkeeping's flipped. You're renowned for shot stopping rather than your ability with your feet. Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
But we've went the other way now, where I think we're looking for that additional player on the pitch to play out from the back rather than the shot stopping. Because at the end of the day, the goalkeeper's job is to use his hands. His feet are always going to be important, but I think it's went the complete opposite now in 2026, that we're addicted to the footwork rather than the shot stopping.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. It sometimes frustrates me a little bit, because I think some managers look for, as you say, first and foremost, how good are they with the feet. For me, you've got to be a good shot stopper. I've seen it in Scottish football at the top level. A goalkeeper that was at Celtic recently, in recent years, and people say they couldn't save a shot. So again, you look at these examples, they've got to be able to save shots, they've got to be a good shot stopper first and foremost.
Aye, that's the primary aspect of it.
100%. It is the job ultimately. If people are shooting from distance and scoring every single time, you're no use to the team.
Yeah.
You're no use to the team. So there's got to be a balance within it. Yes, totally understand nowadays goalkeepers have to be exceptional with their feet, but they've got to be a good shot stopper as well.
Absolutely. So, on your current pathway of coaching, what does the sort of normal training regime look like for the kids that you're taking? And do you have have you created some form of curriculum, or have you done anything that you think, well, we should focus on this particular aspect, or is it a fun element just now where you're focusing on the young ones just going out and playing all the time and touching the ball?
Yeah, listen, I think we've got two groups. The Colts group, again, everybody trains together on a Monday as a session, and we split obviously our group with Advanced and Colts, but they're all there together. Again, our Colts group is really getting touches of the ball, getting control of the ball. Can they master their skill within being able to dribble the ball? That's the stage that they're at this moment. Probably when we look at our more advanced team that we've got at 2019s, we're starting to develop them more. They train 3 times a week just now.
Brilliant.
So again, that's the stage we've taken them to, is training 3 times a week. They'll play a game at the weekend as well. And again, when you look at the advanced session, it's all about intensity. There's demands put on them. There's a fun element as well. They come in to training every single day, bouncing. They get, again, the goals are set up. We encourage them just to go and put themselves in their own wee teams while I'm setting up. If I'm just wanting to watch them for 5 minutes, go and set yourself own wee game up. Take responsibility as a group
important,
to go and do it yourselves, which they do. They'll go and set up their own wee 3v3s, 4v, whatever it is. Whoever's there first, so it ends up a 2v2 and into a 3v3 or a 3v2 before the other ones come. So I enjoy watching that they're taking a little bit of responsibility. And then again, still for me, it's still a huge amount of ball mastery at the start of a session, as many touches as they get. If they can touch the ball so many times, they're going to get better. And we're looking at their control, positive touches we talk about, so going forward with that first touch, knowing the direction you're going to go into. And then 1v1s, 2v2s are massive for me. I know you guys speak about in this podcast, and I totally agree. At that age, you face 1v1s a lot in a game of football at that age.
Yeah. So we had a wee chat before we come on there, just about what you were up to and stuff like that. And obviously, what was your title at Annan, the head of?
So I'm chair of community football.
Chair of community football. So is that for multiple age groups, Cammy?
Yeah, so that's the whole community football and athletics. So
is that linked to the club? Sorry.
Yeah, so the community football is like an arm of the club as well. So we train on Galabank, the pitch. We've got the mug at the top, so we've got really good facilities. Both obviously 4G Astros. So again, we can use the pitch all year round. We have got fantastic facilities at the stadium. And again, that's basically from all the way from primary 1, your 2020s, all the way up to our under 17s. That is as far as we go at the moment. We're hopefully going to have an under 20s team next season.
Yep.
Which hopefully in years to come we want to feed into that first team. We want to have that link because we've got the pathway there. We have the pathway as a football club at Annan Athletics, so we're in the leagues, so we've got to use it. There's a lot of work to be done behind the scenes, absolutely, but again, we are working to try and create that long pathway and give opportunities to kids.
Brilliant. You mentioned also that you came about following us. How did you come about following the podcast and things like that?
Honestly, I don't know. It just popped up, and I think I'm in the car a lot. I travel a lot, and again, I love a podcast, and I clicked on it, and I've genuinely listened to every single one of them. I think it's brilliant speaking about youth football in Scotland. You guys are doing a great job. I love the way you speak about the game as well. And we were over in a tournament. We played at Ravenscraig on a Saturday and then Irvine on the Sunday, and we were staying as a group, the 2019s, a couple of weekends ago, and one of the parents just brought it up as we're sitting having dinner. He said, "Oh, have you listened to that Beyond the Ballers podcast?" And I was like, "I have." I said, "I've actually been invited to go on it." And he was amazed. He was just like, "Oh, it's brilliant." He says, "So good from a parent's point of view that we're getting an insight to, again, coaches, other parents, what people are feeling, just stories,
thought processes, and decision making, what happens and when it happens, and how things can sometimes occur, and how people in different positions can be thinking at times as well regarding the game itself." So
it's different experience. Nobody's going to have the same journey. Not one player is going to have the same journey. And again, it's just trying to help parents with going through different journeys and different stumbling blocks. When they're high, then what do you do with your kids when they're really struggling? How do you handle that situation? So I think it's really good for parents to listen into.
Excellent. Thank you very much for that. The kind words as well. It's amazing that a professional,
because it wasn't well thought out. This, we ain't gonna lie, it was literally off the cuff ideas.
Was it?
It really was.
So
because
what happened? I'll tell you what happened. Right?
Because I didn't remember that much. Go on, you'll tell me.
So we were training one night, and He says, it's going really well and stuff like that. That's just the coaching part of it. And yeah, that's good. And the team's doing really well and whatever. And he says, do you know, I'd love to do a podcast, you know. And I says, well, I'd host it for you. And he went, would you? See, the next day, he had booked a studio.
Amazing.
And I'm like, oh no.
And the first episode was like no script. It was like we went in and we just said, let's just fire stuff at each other.
Yeah.
Because it's two dads. I think that's what resonates with most parents. It's just two dads. If you were sat in a pub with your mate, you'd just be talking about the same stuff.
Yeah.
Obviously a bit more foul language, but we're just talking about the genuine topics of Scottish football.
But I think we have because we've put ourselves out there and we have experience of what happens at academies.
Every level of football.
Coming from grassroots, intermediate development, advanced levels, we've got experience of that. Obviously scouting, all these things, they come all under the same umbrella, and not everybody's got the same exposure to these sort of elements in the game. And I think by talking about it, and even if people don't agree with us at times, and maybe hopefully they can get a wee nugget of information somewhere that's going to help the child in the journey.
That's why we need guests. So that's like we said at the start. I mean, I know nothing about goalkeeping. I'd be a liar to run a goalkeeper session because I don't know enough.
Yeah.
I don't know about where to position them. As a striker, I know where I'd like them not to be.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? But we need your expertise, you know. So
how do you deal with let's say you're taking the 2019s for a session, how do you deal with the goalkeeper in that? Do you get them to play with their feet? Do you get them to join in the session and then they just win goals when it's a game, or do you try and shape that? Because I think that's really important for...
Have you just went to goalkeepers, Cammy? Are you just about to?
So we are in the phase of, we've played a number of five-a-side games now. We're still 4v4s at the moment.
Still 4v4s,
yeah.
sorry.
But again, we've played fives, so we started to phase ourselves into the five-a-sides. So yeah, we've got a goalkeeper who, again, I do a little bit of coaching myself as well, so he comes into my goalkeeping session. So again, he's only 7-year-old, so he's learning to understand the goal. He absolutely wants to be a goalkeeper. But what we do within the sessions when we're building up, preparing to go to a 5v5 game, we'll always do a little bit of shooting, then we'll work out. Again, we just do a little bit of passing so he gets comfortable with what he's going to face within the game. Sure. Whether that's a high press, it's always difficult because again, we know kids get a little bit nervous with the ball. And again, I almost encourage him. He's struggling with throwing the ball out at the moment. I encourage him to take a step back, put the ball on the deck and play, because he's a brilliant footballer. He's really, really good because, again, he's played 4v4s outfield. He was a defender and still does the defending part when we go at the fours, but when we go to five, he's obviously the goalie. So we're encouraging him to put the ball down, play with his feet. You don't need to throw it because he's not mastered that yet, but he can pass the ball much better than he can throw it. So, again, it's just identifying them small things that help him within the game.
Excellent. So how would you... For a bit of advice, they'll be an more experienced coach, let's say, than me and Cammy. What would you say for any team that's moving that transition for goalkeepers to shape a session? Let's call it for the goalkeeper to be involved, because I think Cammy's probably nailed it there, to be honest with you. But
he has nailed it. Including them as the group's more important than anything, in my opinion. I wouldn't isolate the goalkeepers right now. So I would have them with the ball by the feet, because at the end of the day, at five-a-side, I'd say it's rare he's going to have the ball in his hands all that often in a five-a-side game. The goals are tiny, you know. He's probably not
got to throw his body in front of it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think he needs to be good with his feet at that age. I'd be focused on nothing else but on his footwork, and then I'd have, obviously, Cammy's doing the private stuff. I think that's when you need to be adding that bits in as a five-a-side goalkeeper. I wouldn't be isolating them from the group unless I've got a designated goalkeeper coach in that group.
No, because we always get messages, what would you do for
the session? The
session and the goalkeeper, because our session plan was very well received by thousands.
So what we do, we've got a 2014 team, and our goalkeeper will be involved with every single aspect of that session. But he's very good with his feet. He played outfield, to be honest, so he's just transitioned himself. Yeah. He's 11, so he's just transitioned to a goalkeeper. His footwork's fantastic. It's just his shot stopping he's working naturally because he hasn't done it enough. But if he's involved in the session, his passing, receiving, It doesn't change. The games are going to change. It's exact same.
But again, you touch on that, being involved in the session. Again, it quickly jumped away in my career. And when I played with Rangers, Mark Warburton came in and it was a total possession-based game that he wanted, style of play that he wanted to play. And the goalkeeper was absolutely key to that because we were playing out from the back every single time. And again, every single training session, that changed from where I was used to as a goalkeeper. We were involved straight away with the team. So we pretty much trained with the team where we would go out early so we could get some goalkeeping done before the boys came out. As soon as the boys came out, we'd be involved in passing drills, possession drills, and then you'd go into your games. Because
what was that like? What was that like when that first happened? Was that a mega shock to the system?
Yeah, it was. Again, it was just you were so involved in, you do your boxes and stuff like that, so you're involved in that, but then it was more the possession stuff, and there was a key element that the goalkeeper was so involved. We'd be the end men, but it had to go through the goalkeeper all the time, and generally his transfer was trying to get it from one side to the other, and then the other goalkeeper that would score you a goal. But again, it would start from a tight area to then expanding into bigger areas. But you were so involved in the possession play. You became comfortable with the ball.
First guy in the team.
Again, you were really probably uncomfortable at the start because you weren't used to it. You hadn't played with the ball that much at your feet, and it was all 3-4 yard passes, bounce passes. Somebody taking a touch, playing it back, then you were having to switch out to the other side. So it was
central
so fast.
midfielder.
It was genuinely, that's what you felt like. You'd touched the ball more than a midfielder in these possession drills. But again, it was just the way of the manager trying to make the goalkeeper comfortable, because that's what you're going to face on a Saturday.
That's really interesting. Really interesting. Can I take you into sort of your maybe later in your youth career?
Yep.
So do you remember training as a sort of teenager and things like that? And what did that look like from a club point of view? And is there anything you would change? And sort of just an aspect for those who are maybe just getting into a living aside, maybe into secondary school, and coaches maybe looking to how they would shape their goalkeeper training and stuff.
Yeah, so my journey was a little bit different because I actually had to ask my dad. Again, my memory's not that great, but again, I probably didn't start playing organised football until 10-year-old.
Wow.
And again, that's in, organised football. You're going back 30 years. I'm 40 this year, so you're talking, the organised football was school football. That's where I started. I said to my dad, how did I actually start? He said, the way that I started getting involved was my brother, who's 2 years older than me, was at Queen itself, and I went along to training, getting dragged along as a younger brother. They were short of a player at that point. Then the coach, a guy called Jim Grant, invited me in to because I was a body there. So he said, son, do you want to come and
just play?
So again, I got invited into this. Yes, I'd played with my brother in the streets. That was it. That back in that era, it was street football. It was going down the park. Is there any boys there with a fitba? You would then just join in as a group and you would start playing games. So there was no real absolutely structured football at that point. Probably a year later, maybe 10, 11-year-old, you're looking at, I started playing my athletic because they started a youth team at that point, and then I soon quickly transferred to getting myself involved at Queen itself when I was sort of 12-year-old, and I stayed with them for a couple of years, and then Kilmarnock then picked me up at about 14. Again, loads of knocks on the way, and this is what I would say to parents: listen, football's never straightforward. As I say, I was 10-year-old when I started, which is quite late. You look at kids now are 5, 4 even.
Cammy, did you go in as a goalkeeper at 10? Did you know that would be your outfield player?
No, I was an outfield player to start with, and then I started to quickly get phased into being a goalkeeper.
Right.
Probably within the first year, realised I was decent in goals, just naturally, and then you start to get phased. I would say what the benefit for me when I was a kid was, and it's interesting because you don't see it in this day and age. When I was 12-year-old and I was at Annan, I trained with Annan first team. So and they were east of Scotland. So I was very fortunate that I had a guy called Robert McComb who was a youth at Kilmarnock, then got released and then went to play. He was a guy from Dumfries, so he played for Annan in the east of Scotland. Rab basically took me under his wing and said, come along and join us. I'll take, there was no goalie coaches at that point, so the first team goalie was taking the session. Between him and another guy, and then there was myself, were the 3 goalies in the session. And again, what I would say is, at 12-year-old, that session wasn't tapered for a 12-year-old. It was an adult session. I had to either go with it,
Sink
or
or swim.
I would have
Sink or
crumbled.
swim.
It was one of them moments that was a sink or swim moment where you say to yourself, can I handle this? Being around adults at 12-year-old, which is difficult. But again, the training that he gave me, the technique, the shape, which is so important. I can say to any young goalkeepers out there, if you can learn your technique and your shape at a young age, that'll stand you in good stead for so many years to come.
Charlie Austin spoke about playing with his dad's team, didn't he? Did he speak about playing with a pubs team at 15?
Yeah.
But this was what we done. I remember playing for my I was rotten at football, but I played for my stepdad's team at 16, a pub team. And it was naughty. They were getting fired into it at 16 years old. I was like, I'm going to snap something here. But I love that. It's a great way to look at. I think that instantly puts bravery into your body without even realising.
100%. It built so much resilience within me as a person at that young age that, again, as I say, that session wasn't for me, it was for them. And I just needed to adjust the way that I handled it and get involved in it.
Well, let's be honest, you get hurt as a goalkeeper when the ball's getting fired at you, and if there's adults firing, rifling balls at you for 100 mile an hour and it's smacking off your face and wrecking your wrists and all that, and you realise all of a sudden, I've recovered for that, and I'm actually, that's a resilience you're talking about. Yeah,
and I look at this day and age, and I know we're struggling for a future Scotland goalie at this moment in time, and how is that where we're going wrong? Are we not exposing our young ones to real football, to be honest, at a young age? And again, people disagree with it, absolutely will disagree with it, but again, I feel like that certainly took me on my journey with regards to being with adults, training with adults. And then when I went to Queen of the South at 14, I started training with Queen of the South goalkeepers. So David Matheson was a goalie at that point, and again, the guy who used to be at Rangers, Colin Scott, Colin was there. So again, at 14, I'm training with adults, doing the session with them. Obviously I'm going and training with my team as well, but their extra sessions, what I would say as well is I trained every single night of the week. Without a doubt, I trained with somebody every single night of the week.
What were you doing, Cammy? On the night you went with Queen the South or Anne in that time, what would you be doing?
So again, back in that sort of era, if I was with Queen of the South on a Tuesday, Thursday, say for example, I would jump into the session with my pals who were training with Annan on the other days. I would then try and get again, I was fortunate enough that I was getting a private goalkeeping session. So 5 nights of the week, I was training, without a doubt. I was playing probably 2 games at the weekend as well. So there was very little time I wasn't playing football, which I think when you look back, is that how I managed to become a footballer? Possibly. I think so much time on the training field.
Do you think you lost anything in your youth because you were always into it, or was that your love and passion that you didn't want to do anything else?
No, you have to make sacrifices, and I think at a young age I realised that. Again, going through my journey when I was 14, you then got picked up from Kilmarnock, so you get these little wins that you're like, this is why I've done it, this is why I've sacrificed going out with my pals and hanging about the streets, and again, I'm on a training field training with adults. That's the sacrifices where you get the rewards. So I think when I managed to go to Kilmarnock, I then fortunately enough got the experience as well, which I think again built character in me. I got to go down to Charlton Athletic. So the way that came about was I went down to a residential course down in England, and it was Mervyn Day's goalkeeping academy.
Okay.
So Mervyn Day had a goalkeeping academy. His son actually took it, so I was there for like a week, and I trained with him for a week, and it was brilliant, great. I loved it. And at the end of it, Mervyn Day's son, Mervyn came on the last day. His dad, my dad came to pick me up, and Mervyn spoke to my dad and says, look, we want to invite him into Charlton Effect. We think he's good enough. So I had that year where I was with Kilmarnock. This was probably when I was 14, turning 15. I was a year with Kilmarnock, so I was playing all my youth football with Kilmarnock against all the top flight teams. But I was also travelling down to Charlton Athletic to spend a week at a time. So it was maybe a week every month I was going down there, taking time out of school. I went away to an indoor tournament in Germany, which was an unbelievable experience. Because we played Bayern Munich, we played Dortmund, we played Celtic were there, and I can name some of the names that were at the tournament with Celtic.
Go on, why not?
Aidan McGeady, Charlie
You done
Mulgrew.
all right? Oh, right.
This team's unbelievable. Ross Wallace,
Wow.
David Marshall. This was their 5-a-side team over in Germany. Incredible. Aidan McGeady got player of the tournament, as you could imagine.
Yeah,
especially
unbelievable.
technical
And I actually tried to get my dad to hunt out the sort of programme to see if there was any names, and we didn't manage to find anything. But again, you're looking at that era because Bayern and Dortmund, so it was Bayern, Dortmund, Stuttgart, Sturm Graz, Man United, Celtic, Charlton went over, because Charlton were a big team back then. They were, Alan Cubbersley was manager.
In the Premiership.
Big team. And the two goalies that actually went over were myself and Darren Randolph. So we were the two goalies at that age. So, but again, just great experiences.
What an experience that is, eh?
Yeah. But again,
how did you fare over there then? How did you get on, and do you remember some of the matches?
Yeah, I can remember playing against Celtic actually, because we beat them on penalties, and I saved a penalty when we beat them. I think we didn't finish it, we didn't get to the final, but it was maybe like a third or fourth playoff. But we done well, and again I can remember playing against Bayern. I think we got beat 3-1 against Bayern, but yeah, just the quality. Again, you've got a little stadium around you. It was like a sort of ice hockey arena that had been made into an indoor pitch. So it was just a great feeling, and again, being out of your comfort zone, because I didn't know the lads that well, because I was only travelling down every so often, so I didn't get a huge amount of time to spend. It was
what age was that?
So I would have been 15. But again, talking about being 15, I had to get a flight, because I live in Annan and I'm from Annan. My dad used to take me to Newcastle Airport, drop me off. I used to have to fly to London myself, and then somebody from Charlton Flight would pick me up at the other end.
Right, sorry to digress, but you've brought up a brilliant subject there. Resilience in children at the moment.
Yeah.
What do you think, we're too soft and do everything for them?
Yeah, and listen, I'm a parent and I'm far too soft for my own kids. And again, I feel as if I'm firmer when I'm on a football pitch, because I know what's needed to be a professional footballer, and there's a huge amount of resilience needed. And that's all the way through your career. Listen, when I was an adult, I got many knockbacks, many times that were really difficult to deal with as a person. Huge amount of criticism coming your way, whether it be social media, whether it be public media,
papers,
fans, papers, everything. It comes your way, but you need to, if you've not had them knocks when you're younger, or had to build up that resilience within yourself to believe in yourself, then you would really struggle with that.
I think it's bigger than football, Cammy.
It is.
I think if we're not careful, we'll be setting our children up for failure when they're older.
Yeah.
Because see, when you go into a job interview, it's cutthroat.
Yeah.
And I don't think we're building children to deal with rejection. I think kids are going to really struggle when they're older.
Let's remember, not just a job interview. If you go and you're looking for a college place at a high-end course or anything like that, you need to put yourself across in a way that you're going to be wanted. So that could be a rejection as well, because there could be 30 places for 60 applicants. Mm-hmm. And even small things like that we maybe take for granted as such, that's still kids that have never had hard knocks, let's call them.
It's even bigger. I think some kids can't talk face to face.
Yeah, they struggle.
I think some kids can't look at you in the eye and give you a conversation.
Right, I'll tell you why. I'll give you a backup on that experience there, because I obviously work at a college in Glasgow, and you walk along the corridor and they're sprawled out, these apprentices all over the place. Not one of them speaking to each other. The phone is there, and it's scroll. And that communication, they struggle to, as you say, look you in the eye when you're sort of dealing with something, and just building that sort of...
But our trust was based on face-to-face interaction when we were kids.
Yeah.
I trusted someone from a handshake that was brought into me. I was told if he gives a good handshake, you can trust that guy. Honestly, that was my advice as a kid. Nowadays, you have to send someone a Snapchat or something to get...
But we need communication on a football pitch. It's key. It's so key that the communication's on a football pitch, understanding to be able to receive that communication. So all these things we speak about in kids just now, it's going to hamper them within their footballing experience.
So how do we fix it though? So it's all right us complaining.
Dinosaurs. That's what we had, exactly. Dinosaurs for bringing it up.
So how do we fix that then?
I don't know. It's a difficult one. But the rejection thing, touching on that, I was rejected a number of times when I was younger. Again, you go to schoolboys trials, never made any, never played for Scotland schoolboys at all. Went to loads of trials, got to Largs, sorry, you're not good enough, off you go. Again, you don't give up. It made me certainly more determined. The first time I got into Scotland's team was under 19s, and it was when I was at Kilmarnock full time. I had to go on trial to Largs again. You've got them scars from being rejected as a schoolboy, same place.
How did you feel, Cammy, when you went into that under-19 trial? How did you feel? Now you've had the rejection at younger ages. What did you think at the time? Did you have self-doubt at the time?
Yeah, huge amount of self-doubt, because you've been there and it's in the exact same environment and a lot of the same faces. A lot of these boys that were with Celtic and Rangers had, again, your Charlie Mulgrews, your Ross McCormicks, all these guys had made the schoolboys team and I hadn't. But again, what my parents spoke to me about is everybody, and I spoke about this before, everybody develops at different rates. I seemed to accelerate my development when I went in full time because I trained hard. I had good coaching. I was, again, training with adults again. I was back training every single day with Gordon Marshall was the first team goalie as soon as I went in, Colin Meldrum, Craig Sampson, guys that have all kind of had really good careers. And again, you're straight in training with them every single day. So again, that accelerated me, but you've got a huge amount of doubt because you've been there and done it. You've been told, sorry son, you're not good enough. So, but again, within myself, you want to go and prove people wrong. So managed to get in that squad, and I played for Scotland 19s, and we had a brilliant team with Stephen Naismith, who was with me at Kilmarnock at the same age, Ross McCormack, Charlie Mulgrew. So we had a really, really good team. And again, Scott Cuthbert, centre back, who played down at Swindon for many years. So you had a good team, and I just think all these little rejections stood me in good stead for, again, probably what happens later on in your career and all these rejections you get, because football's full of rejections. You need to be able to deal with it.
How important do you think is coaching at younger ages, Cammy? How? Because we sometimes talk about it. We just spoke about then that your team do 3 nights a week.
Yep.
But the better players won't just be relying on that.
No.
The better players will be doing so how important is the hours of coaching compared to the individual working? Just your opinion.
I think the quality of coaching's got to be good. There's no point in turning up to a coaching session that you're not going to get any value of. But for me, hours on the pitch, I mentioned it before, I trained every single night of the week. And that's not me just saying that.
No,
and I'm not just throwing out that you need to do that. But that was my experience, and I look back and I really do think, is that what got me to be a professional footballer for 18 years full time? Probably, yes, because it built up loads. The quality of myself, again, physically, mentally, all these elements, it absolutely built within me at a young age. And again, one thing I would say is hard work in this day and age is really underestimated, because I see the best players that I played with at a youth level. Stephen Naismith, I played with Nazy from under 14s when I joined Kilmarnock. We were in the exact same team all the way till he moved to Rangers. We followed the same pathway. Good friend of mine, still speak to him loads. Nazy was not the best player in the team. He wasn't the best player, and he was still fantastic, had great quality. But when you join these academy teams, there's loads of brilliant technical players. Nazy wasn't one of the best technical players. He was still very good.
Yeah.
What he had was determination. His attitude was amazing. His willingness to win. And we speak about at a younger age, it's not about winning. See, from a younger age, Nazy wanted to win absolutely everything. You can see the work rate he put in a game. The amount of energy, the amount of running he done, he would never give it anyone a second. Yeah. And then he still had that quality. So he allowed his quality to shine through because he put so much effort in. And I just look, and I think sometimes we miss that at a younger age. We think the ability comes first. But honestly, I really do. I think hard work is underestimated at some points.
I think you've got to. Well. We speak maybe probably every episode now. You've got to want it. Yeah. You've honestly got to want. There's all right you saying that he's so technical and he's great. You have a choice to make every day, don't you? Right? You can either stay in that house when the rain's lashing down, or you can get in that back garden and do more. And the choice is what will separate. The gap's going to keep getting bigger as well, by the way. Because the level of coaching is getting better, I think, at youth football. I think it's naturally getting better. But see, if you're not going out there to do your additionals, you might as well forget about it and stop saying you're going to be a professional football player. Because the dream's only going to be there from work rate, in my opinion.
Well, there's a statement that people would like to be a professional footballer, or they're obsessed to become a
I've
professional
seen
footballer.
I've seen that. I wouldn't name players, but I've been in a changing room with professional players who have made it professional, who like the thought of being a footballer and like everything that goes with it.
And do you think that's what separates Nazy to the others?
1,000,000%. That's why Nazy got to the top level. That's why
Scotland, right?
So many Scotland caps, Rangers, Everton, Norwich. That's why he is where he is. That's why he's Scotland assistant manager, because again, he's came out of football and he put so much into being I know he had his spell at Hearts as manager, but then he's put so much into it since he's left there as well. He goes and watches coaching sessions. He works closely with other managers. David Moyes, he's very close to him. So again, his work rate has never stopped, even since he stopped playing football. Another example is, and I think he follows you, I think you mentioned him, Simon Murray. Yeah. So a wee story about Simon. When I joined Dundee United, Simon was there. He joined the season before. He came from part-time. He was a really late bloomer. So again, Simon was a qualified plumber. So he was working as a plumber when he was at Arbroath, part-time footballer. And when I joined, the season I joined, Simon hadn't played that many games for Dundee United. He was almost just getting phased in, and we dropped down to the Championship. Simon was one of the hardest working pros that I've seen. I always remember he probably was about 24, and I'm on the training pitch. I'm the first team goalie, and I was really good friends with Simon. He said, "Cammy, can you stay behind with me? This never happened. Not with a 24-year-old. Can you stay behind me? I want to do one-on-ones with you because I want to get better. I feel as if I missed too many chances. Can you coach me from a goalkeeper's point of view when I'm running one-on-one, what I can do better to put the ball in the back of the net?"
Wow.
And this is like an afternoon. I'm like, not a problem, Simon. But a guy who wants to get better, who wants to stay on the training pitch and better himself. And I'll be perfectly honest, you don't see a lot of that when you get to a certain age. You get players that, again, you've done your session. Some managers don't like you staying out because, again, they've hit the numbers they want to hit. But Simon was just so determined that he wanted to hit the back of the net more. He wanted to work harder. And I think, again, you look at his performances for recent clubs, Dundee at the moment, the drive, the enthusiasm he plays with, the quality he's got. So that, again, it's just another example of hard work.
Right, here's a wee scenario for you. If we were to drop a teenage academy player at the moment back into the hard knocks of when you were doing yours, do you think they cope okay, or do you think they're too mollycoddled at the moment?
No, I don't. I probably don't think they cope okay at the moment. Again, there's lots of elements to it. Is it down to, I think you're right in saying society's completely changed. As I mentioned, for me it was, as a kid, you would get kicked out the door. You had to go to a park and find somebody with a ball, and you would have to speak to them to ask if you could play with their ball and join in. That doesn't happen in this day and age. We've got a lot of kids that are on their phones, social media, computer games, and this is even footballers. Again, it's been publicly said from probably 2 or 3 years ago now, but a manager calling out his players for players playing the computer too late at night before a game. And it just shows you where we're at, though. Do you know what I mean? That's.
Do you know what I think's missing? You know, when you used to have dressing room jobs.
I
Right.
was going to say that.
Let's talk about apprenticeships.
The professionals round about the club setting standards and things like that.
I think there needs to be an apprenticeship. I won't say program, but you need to be on your apprenticeship on your scholars. So, not from a football background. I was a bricklayer. I used to get trowels thrown at me, like because I wasn't quick enough to get the mix going. Or when I was in the Navy, I used to do initiations. So I'm not saying you have to do that, but it was part of the growing to earn the right to be in there. You don't just get the right to be in the first team because you're a good player. Earn the yards to be in there, because your attitude and everything's going to be what separates you from just any other under-18 player that steps into the first team, in my opinion.
Again, we'll be called dinosaurs for that view, but I think because what we see is everything laid on a plate for players, and the amount of, well, here we go with the financial backing for parents. Every kid's lifted and laid.
Brand new boots every 3 months.
2. G-form shin guards, you can sponsor us if you want, by the way. But anyway, everybody's got them at £30-40 a pop. It's easy. It's easy.
What did yours look like, Cammy?
Well, mine was so as soon as I full time at Kilmarnock, a Monday we didn't train. We had to clean the stands. So if it's a home match, we're cleaners. We're cleaning the stands from all the pies and everything that's.
Were you raging?
No, because it was part.
Used to find the killy pies left behind.
I know. No, because everyone done it. The whole team. It wasn't just like as in the whole youth team. It was. You weren't individualised. That was part of your jobs, and then you would get to train in the afternoon on a Monday. But that was just part of it. You clean boots. You had jobs. My job was away dressing room for quite a while, where I had to make sure the away dressing room was clean. You'd be cleaning toilets, and again, what in my life, I'm addicted to cleaning now, which is I know, but again, I think going forward.
Swap the goalie gloves for marigolds.
A little bit, aye. But it certainly helped me within life. Again, I appreciate
grounding, isn't it?
Yeah, it is absolutely grounding. You've got responsibilities straight away from a young age. Accountability put on you because the youth team manager's going to check in the away dressing room. Is that cleaned? Cammy, that's not clean. Come and fix it. So again, there's all these small elements that have been taken away from young professional footballers when they go into the academies. And I don't think it is a good thing. I think when you speak to a lot of guys that have played the game, they'll have all done the same. We've all cleaned boots, we've all cleaned changing rooms, but it's like that grounding at the early age.
Do you think if we introduced a similar type programme as what happened then to the players now, we would get more players making the grade? That's a difficult question, but it's to emphasise the fact that if you've got a better grounding, is there more chance of you to make this because you know how much hard work's involved? Or are you just pitching up and then maybe you get rejected at 18 because you've been a 2-year scholarship or graduate, whatever you wish to call it, and then from there, just accept it, it's fine. Mum and dad will sort it.
See, without knowing statistics and figures on this, right? In Cammy's era, I reckon there'd be a lot less players that were the high level under 18s at your top academies in Scotland that didn't make it into the first team or better than what there is now. So those academy players of the year that don't end up breaking into the first team and then go and play lower league, I reckon there'll be a lot more there nowadays than what there was in Cammy's day because of the grounding, in my opinion.
Well, we looked at the amount of Scottish players in the SPL in comparison to who they bring in from Ireland, England, nationality-wise, obviously. But it's about a 50-50 split. It's 50% Scots and you obviously look at the big two.
And see what Cammy said about
many in there
replacing the next goalkeeper?
Yes.
That's a big problem, but I think it's deeper than that. I think this is probably Scotland's golden generation. It has been for years. In terms of that first team, national team right now, I'd say it's the best Scottish team we've seen in a long time.
Yeah, since the 90s, obviously.
But who's replacing them? Because your two left backs are going to retire in 2 years' time.
Yeah.
Who's replacing them?
But we've spoke about this, and we do have talent in Scotland, and we've got this problem with the pathway where
first team appearances.
So we spoke about this, didn't we, in an episode, and we said
so
that
for me the difference from when I played and the exposure that I had at a younger age to what it is just now, again, we had a competitive league. Under 19s it was called at that point, so you'd play in the under 19s, but what also we had was the reserve league. The reserve league was massive. I remember playing against Rangers. Barry Ferguson played in it because he's come back from injury. So you've got all these guys that the first team manager at that point was using the bigger players to get them back fit, or boys that weren't playing would play in the reserve games, but there were obviously opportunities for younger guys to play as well. So I was 18-year-old and playing against a Barry Ferguson, you know, and that's the difference. I remember playing against Neil Lennon as well when he was at Celtic. And these moments for me as a kid and as a goalie playing against the big names, I just think it's lost now, because I think the lack of competitiveness at an older age, when you start to get towards that first team, football's competitive. There's no getting away from it. Yeah. That's what it is. It is competitive. I think when you get to an older age, we have to make it really competitive again. The league, when I played in the under-19s league, you would always look at your league position. There was nothing wrong with that, because I knew the next step was a first team.
Yeah.
So I had to go into a first team, whether that be on loan, whether that be Kilmarnock first team. I would be getting judged on the league position. So
I don't think you're just playing for points, Cammy. I think you're playing for a shirt, aren't you?
Yeah.
You're playing for a shirt as well. So if you can have that desire to go and win every single game, knowing that points mean something, you're playing for the shirt.
And it was always a big thing who won the under-19s league. Do you know what I mean? It was always like I managed to win the Youth Cup with Kilmarnock, and it was a massive occasion. The first time they had ever won it. And again, we had a decent team. We had players that probably 5 or 6 that went on to play senior football. Some Naismith at exceptional levels, other ones just at lower league. But again, I just think that competitive edge helped all of us go on our journeys, whether it was no matter where you went.
It's interesting that and how we fix it. I've no quite come up with a solution to it, but
you've mentioned reserve leagues before.
And I think going back to the S-form system and things like that, and allowing boys clubs and I
more
think
football should be promoted.
Yeah, basically.
Cam, I think we should touch on, because we haven't really touched about your first team exposure. What was it like with the cup win at Killy? First team, what was that like, the experience? Was it, because I don't obviously remember, I wasn't following Scottish football at the time because I wasn't up here, but gives a little background of that.
Yeah, so it was obviously 2012 League Cup that we won against Celtic in the final, and it was massive for Kilmarnock. Again, we were a sort of top flight team that sat sort of 7th, 8th in the league. That was generally where Kilmarnock were at that point, with our finances and the team that we had. Kenny Shields was a manager who was brilliant. He brought in real belief to the group. We had a good group. We didn't have any outstanding individuals, I would say, within that group. I think what we had was a real togetherness. The boys used to, back in that era, we used to go out a lot together, socialise. We were a proper team.
Sure.
And yeah, just that day was incredible. We stayed at Kilmarnock Scott Hotel next to the stadium. We stayed there the night before, and just all the Kilmarnock fans coming that morning to greet us when the bus left to go to Hampden.
Send yous off.
Yeah, it was. You really felt as if you were into something good, and it was just an incredible day for me. Obviously, personally, you have one of them games that as goalkeepers you'll always have one or two of these games in your career that everything goes right for you. It was one of them games for me at the perfect moment.
And who were you up against in terms of Celtic's like front line? Who was up against?
So Gary Hooper. So Celtic's team was, I can't remember it all, but they had like Wanyama in their team. Gary Hooper, Stokes was up front. Scott Brown obviously played. James Forrest, Joe Ledley. I'm trying to think who else they had. Fraser Foster was in goals for them that day. So they had a phenomenal. They were
Gary Hooper was some striker up here.
So again, in the first minute, we had a centre half, Mohamedou Sissoko, and he was a brilliant player, but he was very, very slack. He had them moments of madness in him, and he got the ball and he's went to play a square pass across the back four. Gary Hooper's nicked in 1-on-1 within the first 5 minutes. He's 1-on-1 with me, and thankfully I managed to make the save. And don't get me wrong, that just settled me down. It put me in a perfect position for my game. I'm glad
it went that way.
I'm glad it did go that way, because if he scores that, it absolutely ends up a different game. It does. And
was that the biggest game of your career at that point then, Cammy? In terms of the stature of what you were playing for?
No, absolutely. I'd never been in a cup final like that, a youth cup final, but that's completely different. But then when you go into a national cup final and the build up to it, and again,
what was the atmosphere like at Hampden? Was it bouncing?
It was incredible. Kilmarnock, we had a bigger away support. We had a bigger support at Hampden in the semi-finals against Ayr United than we did against Celtic in the final, purely because a lot of the Kilmarnock fans didn't think we were going to win. Celtic were a phenomenal team at that time. They were really, really good, very, very strong. I think they were going for the treble. So it was amazing. There was loads. It was absolutely full, packed, brilliant atmosphere. It was just an incredible day to get that victory and the feeling you get. And again, you do reflect back after it, and you go, all them hard yards you've had to do to get there, the lot of time you spent on the training pitch, it's all worth it. It does become worth it at them moments.
Did you have a routine as a warm up? Did your routine change and all that sort of stuff?
My routine was a warm up. I used to when I was younger, I used to absolutely batter myself in the warm-up, and I remember to this day the final, I battered myself even more. I was lashing a sweat, probably just the adrenaline, a bit of nervousness around me, everything that comes with it, but I completely battered myself in the warm-up. And I normally came in about 20 minutes before kick-off, so I had enough time to recover and calm myself down and go through a routine in there where I would just like get changed and make sure all my strappings were right, get enough fluids on board, and just sort of refocus myself in the changing room. Had that moment to myself where I would just kind of almost visualise of how I wanted the game to go and have a chat with myself in my own head, which I don't think there's anything wrong. And I say to young kids nowadays,
I think that's important.
Take that moment to have a reflect before things happen within a game. Just have positive thoughts. I was always quite like that again, you would sit down and it would all be, I wouldn't be worrying about the game, I'd be excited, and I would have positive thoughts that, again, my thoughts before that game would have been exactly how that game played out. But yeah, that was my sort of routine. I would always work really, really hard in the warm-up because I felt like that prepared me. I would try and cover as many bases as I could as a goalkeeper, with shot stopping from angles to easy handling to crossing to kicking to passing, all these different elements that you might need in the game. I would try and cover as many bases as I could.
Excellent, because I think that's quite important for the players at the moment. And your move to Rangers, Cammy, how did that come about? Who contacted you? Who was the manager at the time? And sort of how did that all come about, and how did it go?
Well, I was obviously at Kilmarnock, and it was around about December time. I was coming out of contract at the end of that season. My agent there was a number of teams had been kind of sniffing about: Burnley, Rangers. There was a couple of other teams in Scotland as well. Aberdeen were interested. So it was actually the first winter break I'd had for a long time. I don't think I'd ever had one actually in the top flight, and we had the winter break. So I went away. I think I went to like Egypt or something with Missus at the time. My agent says, look, we're going to do a bit of work in this period. He then phoned me when I was over there, and he says, look, we've got a meeting with Rangers. Ali McCoist was the manager. I hadn't spoken to Ali. I'd spoken to the goalkeeping coach, Jim Stewart, who was my previous goalkeeping coach at Kilmarnock, so I had a good relationship with him anyways. They said, look, we want you. Obviously we dropped down to the divisions, so there was the kind of issue there where the transfer embargo and stuff was in place, but they were reassured that, you know, we'd still be able to sign players. So basically they went in when I was away and discussed. Charles Green was the one that at that time that they had the discussions with, along with a couple other people. And yeah, I remember they came back with the offer, and I said, look, I need a bit of time to think about it. It then dragged on for 2 or 3 weeks. I'm back in playing with Kilmarnock. And yeah, I had a phone call off of my agency, and look, Burnley are wanting to meet you, so I went and spoke to them. Then rumours started to come that Celtic were interested as well. Wow. Neil Lennon liked me as a player, so it started to emerge as that. But then I spoke to Celtic's goalie coach on the phone, and basically I think it was going to be too quick for them to pull something together. They said they were interested. Neil liked me as a goalkeeper, but again, I had these offers on the table, and I had to make a decision. And I decided I wanted to go to Rangers. I was a Rangers fan as a kid. It was something I wanted to do. It was an opportunity to join a massive, massive club. And yes, people will say you had to drop down the divisions to do that, but that was just part of the journey for me.
Do you think your personality played a part in all of those offers as well as your ability?
Yeah, probably. I think so, yeah. I think,
like said, Jim Stewart, knowing you had a good relationship with him, he knew how hard you worked, etc.
Yeah, no, totally. I think word gets around in Scottish football and football in general. Do you know what I mean? Everyone knows everyone. I could probably pick up the phone and find out about somebody down south pretty quickly. And that's the world that we live in, that people will ask questions. What's he like as a person? What's his work rate like? Again, they'll obviously know your ability if they're interested in you. So there's loads of elements that these clubs look at. So so it was a big move for me, and it was something that I really, really enjoyed.
That's amazing. Yeah.
I'm blown away by that, to be honest with you.
I've got one question before we finish, because we obviously need to wrap it up. Can you give us a few bits of advice, Cammy, in your own opinion, not just for goalkeepers, but for youth players on the journey just now? that would help aid in their development as they move forward, trying to step into the pro game?
Yeah, so again, I've touched on it many a times. It's hard work. Again, you've got to put everything in. You've got to be all in as a footballer. If you want to make it, you speak about the obsession. You do need to be obsessed. You need to be willing to give everything, have a lot of sacrifices in your younger years. But you've got to enjoy it as well. I enjoyed it. It wasn't a burden on me training every night. I absolutely loved training. So again, what I would say is, get on the training pitch as much as you can as a kid, because it'll only make you better. I think looking at different resources as well, whether you're training with your team, one-to-ones, whatever it is, as long as it's quality coaching, touching the ball as many times as you can, I think. And don't be scared of getting rejected as well. That's what I would say. Don't let that define you as a person. Make sure that you can bounce back from that, and I think that'll build resilience going forward. So, as I said, rejected many a times in my career, whether it be as a kid or as an adult, and you move forward and you go again.
Brilliant.
That's brilliant.
Absolutely brilliant. Thanks for listening, folks. I hope you enjoyed that. That was really, really good. Really good insight into the goalkeeping world there, Cammy. Thank you so much.
Cheers, Cammy.
Cheers,
Thanks.
buddy.
Cheers, mate.